Good afternoon. As the world grapples with a great threat to our socioeconomic fabric that we're grappling with at the moment, this briefing is aimed at providing a status update on COVID-19 prevention and containment activities that the government of Ethiopia is undertaking at the moment. Considering physical distancing measures that we have put into place, we cannot undertake regular press briefings, and therefore we will be providing frequent and consistent updates through such formats from here on forth. To begin with the current situation, at the outset, I would like to express my deepest sympathies for those that have lost loved ones, friends and family as a result of the COVID virus. Ethiopia has also lost 2 individuals over the past few days to the virus, and we pray that their families find comfort and that the souls of the deceased rest in peace. As at today, April 7th, 2 p.m., the number of positive cases stands at 52, with the youngest case being a 9-month-old baby. In terms of the activities that have been undertaken by the federal government, since the end of January 2020, Ethiopia has been taking measured approaches in monitoring the spread of COVID-19 globally and preparing nationally before it was officially announced with a positive case in Ethiopia. This began with the formation of a ministerial committee chaired by the Prime Minister, which has been issuing multiple measures and progressive measures as as the number of cases were increasing and as was required based on assessments that were being made nationally. So far, the measures that have been taken include stopping large gatherings and sporting events, closure of schools, 14-day quarantine for all travelers arriving to Ethiopia, cessation of over 80 Ethiopian Airlines flight destinations, temporary closures of bars and nightclubs. As well, work-from-home measures have been put into place for government employees, aimed at decreasing public transport crowding. Additionally, closure of land borders, with the exception of entry and exit of goods, have also been one of the key measures that have been put in place, and this has been gradually monitored with the law and enforcement bodies to curtail movement within borders as well. Cognizant of the global financial difficulties that COVID-19 has created, a number of key financial measures have also been undertaken. Some of these include tax exemption for the import of materials and equipment related to COVID-19 containment. Secondly, the National Bank of Ethiopia also availed 15 billion birr liquidity for private banks to enable them to provide debt relief and additional loans to their customers in need. Banks to also avail foreign currency for imports, primarily for the import of goods and input materials for the production of goods or preventive materials that are going to be used in COVID-19 prevention tasks. Fourthly, the National Bank of Ethiopia has also increased the amount of money individuals can transfer through mobile banking to limit in-person cash handling. Removal of the minimum price set by the National Bank of Ethiopia on the horticulture sector for flower exports has also been a measure that has been put in place as part of macroeconomic balancing measures. The Ministry of Revenue has also been tasked to expedite the return of value-added tax returns to support companies with cash flows in these times. And lastly, the Ministry of Trade and Industry has also been mandated to continue strengthening the measures that it had begun taking to control price increments and supply shortages of consumer goods. It is clear that the global COVID-19 crisis will have a direct and indirect impact on our economy due to the global macroeconomic challenges that are ensuing. Nevertheless, we don't expect any disruption with regards to the homegrown economic reform agenda that Ethiopia has adopted some months back. And in fact, we do believe that the commitment from our partners in this regard will also continue. Ethiopia has also been playing a leadership role within the past few weeks, particularly in putting forth a 3-point proposal to the G20 countries, which includes a continent-wide support of 150 billion US dollars to withstand the financial damages that COVID-19 is going to pose. So part of the proceeds of this that would come to Ethiopia is also expected to level the economic playing field and absorb some of the key shocks that may come as a result. In terms of other tasks that have been undertaken, 7 high-level subcommittees have also been created by the Prime Minister, overlooking various activities related to COVID-19 containment and prevention work. Namely, these committees or these subcommittees are the Law Enforcement and Security Subcommittee, which is led by the Deputy Prime Minister, His Excellency Dammaga Makonnen. A Medical Equipment and Supply Subcommittee has also been created. The Macroeconomic Subcommittee has also been created to continuously assess the economic impact of this crisis and come up with requisite measures in that regard. An ICT Subcommittee, a Quarantine, Isolation and Treatment Facilities Subcommittee, a Resource Mobilization Subcommittee, and then finally a Communications Committee has also been formed to streamline awareness raising as well as key pertinent information related to COVID-19 updates. With regards to the key milestones that have been achieved by some of the subcommittees, with regards to the Law Enforcement and Security Subcommittee, one of their critical activities has been to ensure that law enforcement agents themselves and the security apparatus are well equipped with sufficient materials and are also fully aware of prevention measures and methods because support first begins with the protection of self as well. Also, the committee has been actively engaged in enforcing the measures that have been put in place by the Ministerial Committee over the past few weeks, particularly enforcement of the 14-day mandatory quarantine, the border closures, and also taking legal action against any businesses increasing the prices on basic consumer goods. Additionally, the Prime Minister did an evaluation yesterday in terms of readiness of the Law Enforcement and Security Subcommittee, and part of that assessment includes that the National Defense Forces have demonstrated readiness for worst-case scenarios that may arise as a result of COVID-19. With regards to the Medical Equipment and Supply Subcommittee, the subcommittee has been engaged in sourcing the necessary materials required from abroad, as well as mobilizing resources locally. There are currently, according to Ministry of Health estimates, 557 ventilators that are available within the country. This is out of an estimated need for 1,500, and currently 400 ventilators are also under procurement. The committee has also been working closely with the manufacturing industry for local production of some of these essential materials required in the prevention and containment of COVID-19. So far, 14 local manufacturers have been identified and been approved to begin production and supply of hand sanitizers. Secondly, textile companies in Hawassa and the Eastern Industrial Zones will also begin manufacturing locally facial masks. And also the local production of the N95 respirators are also underway at a local level. With regards to activities that the Quarantine, Isolations and Treatment Facilities Subcommittee has been doing, some of their key milestones includes the identification of 180 sites at the federal level. So a lot of energy is going with regards to equipping and ensuring that adequate materials are put in place in all of these identified quarantine, isolation, and treatment facilities. This committee is also working very closely with the Resource Mobilization and Medical Equipment and Supplies Committee to furnish these facilities with the required materials. Additionally, the regions have also been undertaking the same tasks within their own structures in terms of identifying quarantine, isolation, and treatment facilities. Moving on to the Resource Mobilization Subcommittee, it has been mobilizing over the past week Ethiopians in the country and also in the diaspora to donate monetary and non-monetary resources, and these are intended as support for the vulnerable sections of society, which in the event of a worsening COVID-19 crisis will be highly affected. A key aspect of the resource mobilization activities includes setting up a food bank, and this is going to be for extreme eventualities that COVID-19 may introduce. In addition to the subcommittee tasks, each of the ministerial offices have also been undertaking key activities. And just to give an example, the Ministry of Water, Irrigation and Energy has been mobilizing WASH sectors to extend their technical and humanitarian support for the fight against COVID-19 and are doing progressive work in this regard. Indeed, we are in uncertain times, yet we also believe that with the collective leadership at the community, at the national, at the regional and global level, and also the continued support of our key partners globally, we are certain that we'll be overcoming these troubling times. Having shared this far in terms of background activities, some members of our press secretariat correspondence pool have sent questions, and therefore I will respond to these that have not already been touched upon in my earlier statement. So some of the questions raised, one of them is on the announcement of a COVID-19 treatment medicine in Ethiopia. In that regard, this announcement was not on finding a treatment per se. Rather, it was about a potential treatment that has passed one stage of research and passed on to the next stage of animal study and is going to be supported by the government of Ethiopia. The way that this was initially communicated may have created confusion, but there has been corrective measures taken with regards to rectifying the confusion around the announcement. So this is a potential treatment that has passed on to the next stage. With regards to testing suspected cases for COVID-19, the previous protocol followed focus only on travelers who have developed symptoms of COVID-19 and contacts of people around them. This has usually been a small number, and this is also attributable to the small number of testing kits that were available at that point in time. So therefore, there was a push to only limit testing and prioritize testing to that small subset. However, as the situation has been changing, the Ministry of Health has also revised the case definition and began including testing from a larger community. With identification of cases without travel history and known contacts, more suspected cases have also begun being tested. The Ministry of Health and the Ethiopian Public Health Institute are working to expand their testing capacities at the federal and regional levels. And in this regard, in Addis Ababa, there has been already 3 labs that have been set up to expand testing, and they have already begun their work in this regard. At the regional level, there are 4 testing sites that have completed full preparedness and will start testing within the next coming days. Other 7 sites within the regions have also finalized the requisite training and will start proceeding towards the preparation stage, making sure that their facilities are adequately fulfilled with the necessary supplies in order to begin testing within the next weeks as well. With regards to the option of utilizing rapid test kits, this is being considered, and the Ministry of Health is waiting for the quality check by the Ethiopian Food and Drug Authority to proceed to rapid testing capacities. Another question that had been raised is with regards to contact tracing. Indeed, contact tracing is one of the main response components in the COVID-19 pandemic control. And all means are being utilized to register, trace, and quarantine contacts of confirmed cases. As contacts could sometimes be located in different regions and localities, it requires a lot of alignment and integration work with the respective regions. So there might be a little bit of a delay in that, but all of the needful is being done in ensuring that contact tracing is also something that is being strengthened. Another question that was raised is with regards to the role of private healthcare providers. In this regard, in some of the preceding statements by the Prime Minister, he has made a call on all people, on all sections of society to mobilize efforts towards prevention and containment of COVID-19, and this call was also made to private health organization. As this is a national emergency and it does not discriminate between the private and public sectors and facilities, the Ministry of Health has been working with the private health system in various ways, and some private facilities are already providing services at various levels as well. A final question that had been asked was with regards to critical medical supplies and the global race for that, and whether there are fears or concerns on our side in terms of being priced out. Indeed, more than 200 countries are currently affected by COVID-19, and all are also competing for these scarce supplies. The biggest producers are also severely affected with keeping supplies, and most are also keeping them for domestic consumptions. Besides, lockdowns in other parts of the world have also affected the production of supplies and disrupted logistics systems. Nevertheless, the government, particularly through the Ministry of Health, is working with different countries and other suppliers to get the needful products, the needful supplies to Ethiopia. Finally, with regards to the role of different sections of society within Ethiopia to mobilize and to put all their efforts in the containment and the mitigation of COVID-19, the Prime Minister has been also holding discussions with the leaders of various political parties. And this is part of efforts to also bring everybody on board, because this is a national emergency and we want to make sure that the impact of COVID-19 does not really affect our current setup. So the political parties have also sanctioned the measures that have been taken by the federal government and have given their full support for any further measures that are going to be undertaken to ensure that COVID-19 does not wreak havoc within the country. These are the questions that had been raised by media, so for any further questions, we encourage our correspondents to continue emailing, and we'll make sure that they're integrated in subsequent updates as well. Thank you.